Welcome to Cinema Grimoire. Hope you survive the experience.
Because once you pop, you just can't stop.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hey, look, we got a lobby for sponsors over here. We're 6 years in.
Is that what you're doing?
Pringles, where are you at?
See, when I get ready to podcast, I always pop open a nice, cool can of scorching hot Pringles.
Scorching hot Pringles.
Really gets me ready for the jibber jabber we get up to.
Boo.
Well, hello, everyone.
Not sponsored by Pringles.
Not yet.
Alas.
Maybe we just need to perform a ritual of rite to get a corporate sponsor.
We have to invoke a spirit in order to get a corporate sponsor.
Blood sacrifice.
Let's do it.
I mean, I'm not opposed.
Hey, I know we can get some blood real quick. No questions asked.
Stolen or voluntarily given?
Little can column A, little column B.
Works either way.
This is a
This is a way to open an episode.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. This is the second installment of the AYCH's premier Gothic cinema exploration series, Cinema Grimoire. Welcome back, everyone, and a big hearty welcome back to my two co-hosts. And who do I have with me today?
Hey, it's Ash.
And I'm scorching hot JoJo.
We're getting things started with the second movie picked from our big Gothic movie lineup, and I say this is pretty up there in terms of just like famous Gothic films. And Ash, what movie are we discussing today?
We are talking about The Craft, and I am stoked.
Like easily one of the most like famous, like iconic, like goth movies, and one I hadn't seen prior to the show, and like just one a movie I always heard about, and I'm like, it was so cool to finally sit down and watch it. To get things going, why don't we start and just give like our, I guess, star reviews out of 5, Ash, if you would.
God. Okay, out of 5, I'm biased. It's either a 4 or a 5, depending on my mood.
All right.
Oh, I'm sitting at a 4. Solid 4. This, like I've told both Pat and Ash off mic, if I had found this movie at a certain age, it would have awakened things a lot sooner. But this is a really fun movie. And I remember hearing, like, people talk about, oh, it's kind of cheesy or bad or whatever. But I was like, I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. For me, like, I haven't quite nailed my score. Like, I know it's no less than a 3. I think what it kind of falls off for me is just, like, I have a different feeling of how I may have wanted the second half to go. But we'll discuss that. But to me, I still really enjoyed the movie. I just loved, like, the vibes. I loved the aesthetic. And I just, like, love just the world that they built. So I think this will be a good point to just to get into a brief synopsis. If you haven't seen The Craft before, a new girl comes to town from across the country, and she's in a Catholic boarding school, and then where she's having a hard time fitting in, and she sort of finds her way into like this trio of girls who are definitely like the alternative, the outcasts, and then over the course of the movie gets ingratiated with the group, but also deeper and deeper into the world of occult and magic, with ramifications not too far behind.
Mm-hmm.
Accurate. That sums it up.
Yeah, pretty succinct.
Just to say, Ash is our chief goth correspondent.
Oh, God.
That's the official name.
Yes, I have a title.
Declaration on their sticky note name badge that we won't be printing. But when was the first time you saw The Craft?
I was 10, I think, like somewhere around there, 10 or 11. It was at a sleepover, and it was with a group of my friends and my friend's older sister, who was super witchy and like really into it. So it made it a little more exciting because it was very much her vibe.
Yeah.
And also she was terrifying. She was definitely, like, if there was a Nancy, she is the Nancy.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, it was a really cool experience. And from then on, it's been one of my favorite movies.
It's funny, like, I was born in 1990, so, like, there's a lot of, like, 90s culture that, like, I really, like, enjoy, obviously, because that's when I grew up. But kind of the downside is, like, you have to grow up to a certain point to really engage with culture. So there's a
Yeah.
part of me that wishes, because like I wish I could have been like aware enough to be a part of like some of the like the fun, cool stuff like that we look back on from the '90s, and like I think this is just a very clear time capsule, and to me like not in like a
bad way.
a bad way. Just it feels like a very like natural part of what I guess like youth culture and just like what it was like in the '90s, and like it's just a really cool vibe and aesthetic.
Yeah, definitely. And for me too, I think the Catholic school part really worked for me because I went to Lutheran school until I was about that age.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I would have been 10 because that was the first year that I was not in Lutheran school. So, yeah, that's pretty much just how like Lutheran and Catholic schools are.
Yeah.
It's pretty accurate.
And plus, obviously, that heightens the contrast between you have like the witchy magic part, and like obviously the contrast would be like a Christian setting. So
Yeah.
like that just sort of further creates that divide, the oil and water part of it.
Definitely. I definitely remember like middle school because I went back to Lutheran school. We had girls like that. And like, especially at that age, because they were like 12, 13 and on up, you'd have these girls who didn't want to be there and like they'd shorten the skirts or they'd, play with the dress code a little bit. We had one girl make a pentagram on her desk and set it on fire
Jesus.
to try to get expelled. So the vibe of the girls of the main trio, like, it definitely resonates because I know those girls. I went to school with those girls. They were a lot of fun.
And like, just being in such a strict conservative like setting, and like obviously like that doesn't vibe with everybody, so they're gonna like, let's push the boundaries, let's try to break out. And I think that sort of like teen rebellion spirit is like they can probably ride one of the reasons why this movie blew up like it did in the 90s.
Oh, definitely.
And like for Joe, this is your first time seeing it, correct?
This is my first time too, and I honestly, outside of vague pop culture osmosis, didn't know much about it. But going in, like, there is something, especially with the character of Nancy. I'm like, I have met many of these girls before.
Oh yeah, because that was one of the big things that hit watching the movie. It's like, wow, this feels a lot like. Obviously, we went to a public high school, Joe and I did, though we were in different grades. But like, especially when like you realize Nancy came from like a very like, let's say, humble home life,
Yeah.
a little impoverished, and like, man, there's just a lot of just like redneck Wiccan goths that we went to school with.
God.
And like, it's like, man, this is like throwing me back to literal middle school, because there was a time so crystal in my memory where like everybody and their dog was like, oh, I'm Wiccan now.
Yeah.
Like that was
Yeah.
like their big rebellion.
Yeah, because, I mean, I went to high school in Alabama. It was a public high school, too, and smaller, significantly smaller than anything you guys went to.
Oh, yeah.
But we definitely had, like, the one girl who was like, she'd come in one day and she's just like, I'm a witch, and if you look at me the wrong way, I'll hex you.
Yeah.
Or, like, and it was always the girls who, they were a little poor, a little crazy.
Yeah.
Usually sweet, but then they'd have that moment where they're just like, I know magic now and I'll end your life. I'm like, what is this phase that you all go through?
Yeah. What is this like witch era?
What is in the water that you all just wake up one day and you're just like, yep, I'm a witch?
I mean, obviously, I think that's just the easiest thing to go to. And like, when you just live in like a really Christian part of the world, it's like, well, what's the opposite of Christ? The devil and the witch.
Well, and it's not just that it's Christian; it's like fundamentalist Christian.
Yeah.
It's like the harshest version of this like religion that you could come across. So like there have to be an equally harsh like reaction to it in the opposite direction. If you consider those to be antipodes of each other.
That makes sense.
Just with the movie, like you have like the sort of like wholesome, everyday plain Jane goes into the school and she meets like, all these people. Like, hey, I'm you, and it's like, fuck you, bitch, you're weird, because like you're normal and like we're cool, so piss off.
Pretty much.
And then like it's like, well, by process of elimination, she kind of falls in with the alternative crowd. Like apparently the only 3 people in this fucking school with like a modicum of style.
Yeah. God, comparatively, everyone else is kind of a nightmare in that weird 90s preppy gross sort of way.
Like Skeet Ulrich looking like a fucking like Abercrombie dude.
The haircut. The haircut is tragic.
It is so late 90s. And when Pat said this movie is a time capsule, bitch, let me tell you, it is a time capsule.
Because, like, I was telling them, like part of our, like, pre-show, like, banter earlier, just, like, why does Skeet Ulrich look like he swapped clothes with Matthew Lillard's character in Scream?
It's accurate.
Mm-hmm. He has, like, just, like, this really, like, short cut, but also still kind of curly hair. And it's like, it looks so weird. Because, like, if you're going to fall for a version of Skeet Ulrich in the 90s, it's not going to be the one from The Craft.
No.
Although the movie tries to make you think you should.
Which I don't get.
No. Like to me, like, in Skeet Ulrich's characters also, like, I knew many dudes like that, too. Where, like their personality was essentially Fred Durst.
Ugh.
But, like, preppy Fred Durst.
Yeah.
Man, it's just there's a lot. I'm just like, man, this just feels so familiar. Mm-hmm. But also, part of me's like, because I was kind of reticent to step out of those like established bounds for me, just like now as like a grown man. Man, I wish I just kind of played ball with like some stuff like that back in the day.
That's fair. I was definitely like an early 2000s. Like the token Alterna kid, which was really fun because there were also a handful of black kids. So it's like I was pulling multiple positions. I had a lot of jobs to fill.
Wore a lot of hats.
Like, top of the class, but also constantly in trouble and kind of goth, but also maybe emo, but also punk.
I was trying to be all things to all people.
Listen, I had a lot of work.
Hey, well, we appreciate your extracurricular activities.
I did what I could.
It's like when random reference, but like when Ed and Eddie, they went to school and there's only like 8 kids and the kids have to be like the teachers at the same time. It's like, this cast is too small to be trying to pull all these different directions.
I mean, my graduating class had less than 50 people in it, so we were all doing a lot of work there. We had to hit those tropes.
Hey, you all got to pull double, triple duty.
Yeah.
Jock, you also have to be a gamer.
Oh no,
that guy Ben. Oh man, he was ahead of his time. Let me tell you.
He was a cyber gamer.
But also likes Madden. It's in the game.
Oh, God. Anything but Madden.
Hi, I'm Brett Favre.
Let's talk just characters in general. Like, who's your favorite? Who's your least favorite? Who'd you relate to?
Like, for me personally, I know she doesn't get, like, a lot of time to shine in the movie, but I really like Raquel in the movie. Like, to me, I really like her. She's the most glamorous of the...
So, Rochelle is my hero. I love her. Rachel True is freaking gorgeous. Like, even now, she's absolutely stunning. She does not get enough love. The fandom just kind of shits on her character. I don't get it. But, I don't know. Like, she's very much of an era of token black friend where it's like, she's here, she looks good, she's supportive when she needs to be, she does what she needs to advance the plot. Is she a person? No, not really.
To be honest, her character is pretty flat. And Bonnie's not a lot better, better either. But
Bonnie, at least we get a little insight as far as like the burns and like you get the dynamic with her mother. We don't see Rochelle's parents. We see the outside of her house. We see them in her house for a little bit. There's nobody else there. Everybody else has a mom, at least. Rochelle just kind of sprung from the fucking ether. And they're just like, token black friend, go. Okay, disengage. And they pull her back and that's it.
like she goes offline when
like they power her down. Like they just, you hit the little switch and it's like, you go, girl. And then you hit the switch again and she's gone.
And I will say, like, if I could fault this movie for anything, and it's not necessarily the movie's fault, there's a lot of missed potential with certain things or things like I would just genuinely like to go a different way, and like definitely Rochelle's arc, or just like you said, like just meeting her parents. And there's like the implication she also comes from somewhat of money, right?
I mean, that's a nice ass house. I'm pretty sure she's comfortable.
But also, like, this is the 90s where everyone lived in just opulent mansions.
Well, except for Nancy.
Except for who is in the most comically small, like not even single wide, just like
It's
like
like a half
RV,
wide.
like RV.
Oh,
Well, it's like a truck with a hatchback. It's just like
basically.
Oh God.
it's like it's pretty funny, like how just like cartoonishly poor this child is.
The leaking roof, the drunk parents, the screaming match, the microwave that blows up. Like, Nancy's got it all, and it's all shit.
Yeah, she's like, hey, we're spinning the wheel, and it's just bad luck all around.
I love Nancy as a character. Like, I feel for her. Like, when you're watching, it's like, you get how Nancy ends up where she does. Or how she could end up as she does. Because Nancy, of all of them, has, like, an actual struggle.
Yeah.
Comparatively. And, like, not to diminish what Rochelle goes through, because God knows going to school with racist idiots is hell. But comparatively, it's like, I'm pretty sure Rochelle would be popular if not for, like, one or two girls who hate her.
Yeah.
And she kind of, like, I don't know, compared to the others, it feels like she chooses to be the outcast just because it works.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, because like we said, it does seem like she has a fair amount of wealth that, you know, she seems pretty normal, other than there's a racist girl who hates her.
Yeah.
I don't know. She has, like, the lowest stakes to me. I like Bonnie, too.
Yeah, that is very true.
It's like, I know, like, Bonnie, who also, like, compared to, like, Sarah and Nancy, didn't have as much development. Like, she still has, like, you know, the drama of, like, having, like, this kind of mysterious past where she got burned, and she's going through, like, this, like, arduous medical treatment. So, like, she does have, like, that physical, like, hurdle that she's going through. Like, she's very self-conscious. Like, you know, she has, like, these, like, very, like, conspicuous, like, wounds.
Yeah. Bonnie I sympathize with. Like, she's another one where you see exactly how her arc went the way it did, because I would be absolutely as obnoxious as Bonnie by the end of that movie.
Especially if you're, like, used to being, like, covered up in, like, kind of like the little, like, shy little lamb with like your hair all over, and then it's like magic fixes your you know, your mark of Cain, and then, like, suddenly, surprise, bitch, I'm hot. And Joe, did you have a particular character that you really sort of fancied?
I fancy. I very much sympathized with Nancy, and kind of felt she got what I've heard called the JoJo villain treatment, where, like, they are a villain, they deserve to be punished. However, their punishment is so disproportionate to what they actually do. It's just like, she is awful. Don't get me wrong, and and like Ash was saying, you understand how she gets to that point, but at the same time, it's like, do we really need to see her in a mental institution going crazy? I was like, that felt like a little extreme.
I get it, but also she really tried to commit a murder.
That
like
is
a whole ass murder. Like, this was not like there's no glamour at a certain point.
Oh,
she
yeah.
straight up slits her wrist, and it's like, I do think seeing it was unnecessary, though. I think the way it's framed at the end is not as charitable as it needs to be, and that, I think, I get the discomfort there.
I think it's more so like the cinematography and like you saying how it's framed more so than sorry, my mind just.
I mean, I know it's like a really simple thing, but I do like how when they sort of create the quartet for themselves, like how they're sort of, I guess, not chosen element in, like, the magic ritual, like, it reflects their story, and, like, that might be, like, a pretty obvious thing, but I still like how there's that, you know, metaphorical aspect to that, how, like, you know, Nancy is characterized by Erin, she's, like, the most, like, unpredictable, and, like, she's very, like, flighty and, like, very dramatic, and Sarah's the most, like, grounded, so she represents Earth, and she has because, like, Earth, it's like the wellspring of life and the mother, and that's why she has that kind of, like, small story beat with her mom, and, like, Rochelle is the swimmer, so she has water, and Nancy had the burn, so.
Even that, though, kind of disappoints me. It's like, Rochelle got water because she has a swim team.
So,
like, it's not a personality thing. It's just kind of like, We saw her in a pool once. This is her personality.
Yeah.
Well, and plus, like, I remember I've done like a little looking into like behind the scenes, like until Rachel True was cast as Rochelle, like the character was gonna have a very different like story direction. Like her character's gonna be like very concerned about like her weight and like some issues we have with her parents.
Mm-hmm.
And like, and when it's like, oh, here's, you know, they chose Rachel True because they really liked her, like even though she was not white, which they originally wrote her the character for, but clearly, so like, oh wait, we had this great actor. Let's kind of pigeonhole them with just like racism story struggle.
Yeah. Also, every time I watch that movie, I'm reminded that it's Christine Taylor tormenting her, and I'm like, I remember being a kid and when they did that whole like Brady Bunch revival sort of thing, I'm like, why do I want to punch Marsha Brady in the face? And then I realized that was why. I mean, she plays the role very well, but God, is she punchable.
And then she uses the most like baffling racial slur that just had me fucked up for like 5 minutes.
It's like, this is a PG-13 movie, so we have to dance around, but still use like a racially insensitive term.
Yeah. Yeah. And yet 90s racism was just also kind of like that. Yeah, I've had some great experiences. But, yeah. Laura Lizzie was a choice. And, I mean, I'm glad she gets what's coming to her. It almost upsets me that you end up feeling bad for her in a way, because that gets horrific when her hair like really starts going.
It has like these like weird like pus and like scars.
Yeah, it's like on the one hand she's a raging bitch, on the other hand, ew, that's just ew.
Like she gets like full on like it's like Cronenberg like head cap.
Yeah,
and I feel like that was one part of the drama that I did think was interesting. Is like how they came into this power, like they're you know they're obviously they're going to relish it because like these are sort of in a lot of ways they're the outcasts that don't have a power, some less than others. So like playing with that and then seeing like what happens when you sort of white mess with forces, there's going to be like retribution for that. So even when like the villainous kids are kind of like, oh wait, no, kind of shitty what happens. Like Chris is Ski Oldridge's character, like he's like just an adult idiot, like kind of creepy, but then like what happens to him is still like that seems really crazy because he gets essentially like sexually assaulted by Fraud and then he falls out of a window.
Yeah,
and a lot of his behavior that he acts toward Sarah is like because she put a spell on him, so it just accentuates his behavior to like a zenith.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and I get that for the story, it's meant to be that turning point. Like, it's meant to be too extreme.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you feel kind of bad for him because it's like, this is not... Like, he was a typical shitty teenage boy. Like, he wasn't...
He wasn't...
He wasn't a villain.
Yeah. And like... like, a lot of characters suffer from that. It's like, they're shitty people, but it's just like the way it's framed, like... And Skeet Ulrich's character in particular, like, that is, like, a nightmare concept.
Yeah.
Where, like, literally your will is taken away.
He knows that something's changing about him, but he doesn't know why and from what reason. Just like, suddenly I'm just really into Sarah. And then, like, I become, like, this ghoul, like, literally hanging outside of a window.
Yeah, his arc, I don't know. And it's weird, because... They kind of toe the line between playing it almost comedic up to a certain point, and even the parts that are supposed to be funny made me wildly uncomfortable, like even as a kid, because I'm like, this guy has no idea what he's doing, why he's doing it, and he's just kind of being pulled along. And I know it's supposed to be like, oh, the jerk got his, comeuppance, but it just feels gross from the beginning.
Yeah, like there's a way for like a jerk to get like a like we said, a proportionate like punishment. Like he gets like embarrassed and like, oh no, I'm sorry, I've learned my lesson, or he just scampers off with his tail between his legs. Like dying's a bit much.
A little.
Falling out a window and breaking. Yeah, it was kind of brutal too. Like the way that scene was shot.
That scene is intense. That is, however, my favorite part of the movie. Just because Nancy's terrifying.
Yeah.
In, like, the best way possible. And she's so good at it.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things, like, you understand where, like, every character's coming from and how, like, everything is culminated up to that point.
Oh, yeah.
It's like why their behavior escalates with, like, their increase in powers.
Fair.
I love the line that Rachel True had on DVD and commentary. It's like, you ever notice, like, the more powerful we got, the shorter our skirts got?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a thing that definitely happened.
Yep.
That being said, once we hit that turning point, I know you were not as thrilled with the ending.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I know, at least for me, like, I was, because we had, like, all this of, like, hey, it's gals hanging out, doing spooky shit, doing magic. Like, I really loved that camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, to me, they could have had a point where they had a disagreement. They kind of had, like, a falling apart. But then they could have rallied together to remedy that. Because, like, if the whole point was them, like, finding each other and finding solace and strength, then, like, they can do that and sort of, like, realize where they messed up and fix that. And so, but having a bit, or they still could have had the part where Nancy kind of like felt like she got too big for her britches, so to speak, and like I was like, oh, I'm the envoy of this demon snake. What up, hoes? But and so like, hey, bitch, you're getting crazy. Let's trying to bring you down to earth. They could have like done that and not feel like, hey, it's everybody against Sarah now, and like she brings the other two along.
That's fair.
And then, like, I wasn't the biggest fan of, like, how Bonnie and Rochelle, like, come up and they're like, hey, so you got any of that magic?
Just looking for a magic fix.
It's like,
Yeah.
hey. It's like, yeah, sorry we killed you, tried to kill you. Hey, you got some extra spells laying around? You want to, like, you know, cast some spells for old time's sake?
You know, like, back in the old days?
You know, like a
Like
week
2
ago?
weeks ago.
When we convinced you that we killed your parents?
Yeah.
And then we were going to kill you, like, for real, for real?
Okay, so my perspective, I guess, is a little bit different about pretty much everything from that party on. That just kind of felt like middle school and high school. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, you wake up one morning and you are public enemy number one. That shit just happens. Teenage girls are fucking crazy. I don't get it. I don't know why it happens. So for me, like, even watching it the first time, like when I was 10, it was kind of on the cusp of like middle school for me.
Yeah.
Because I skipped a grade. So I was younger than my classmates, and I kind of got to watch all of this firsthand, like as my classmates went crazy, because hormones are the devil. And yeah, girls will just turn on each other for no reason. And then like a week later, like the girl who, you know, literally tried to set your backpack on fire is like, hey, so we're having movie night tonight, right? And you're just stuck with this weird dissonance where it's like, we were enemies for like a month, and now you want us to be chill.
Yeah.
So that ending, even like Bonnie and Rochelle walking up, I'm like, yeah, that's teenage girls. It's weird.
I mean, I could definitely see that perspective because, like, I mean, Lord knows I was in high school. I mean, like a little gay man. Like, I had a lot of like girl friends. So, like, I you saying that, it's like, yeah, there's like a lot of times where it's like, hey, we're just a cool clique of with girls and a gay kid, and then like suddenly like one is like, hey, you're a bitch now, fuck off. And so like I do get that how these are just like tiny like amorphous people who are slowly building themselves up, and then like they just have like a spontaneous like falling apart. Like, you know, these are just imperfect people, and like high school friendships kind of implode.
Yeah,
that's sort of part of the nature in a way. But I do know some of the criticisms of the movie have been it's like, why can't we have a movie where girls don't fight each other? Like,
that's fair.
Like Girls Solidarity. And, you know, I'm sure there are movies out there like that.
I don't know. For me, it was almost refreshing to not have the tidy ending, just because so often you don't get that resolution. Like,
yeah.
As a teenage girl, it's like, no, you're never going to know why they woke up on Tuesday and decided you were a piece of crap on Wednesday. It just kind of happens, instead of these very tidy, like, you know, like the Babysitter's Club and like all the cutesy things that were aimed for girls at that age. We're kind of like, you know, we're friends forever. We have a disagreement, then we bounce back. And it's like, sometimes you don't bounce back. And it's kind of cool to have that, just have that one movie and for it to be so well done.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it was kind of a relief in a way, because it's like, can you really bounce back from something like that?
I mean, that would be like,
Yeah,
that'd be a pretty big like a pill to swallow for Sarah. But like to just be like, hey, water under the bridge, gals, let's go.
Yeah, I do know. I was looking at some of the details for the not remake. I guess it's technically a sequel.
Yeah, the Craft the Legacy that came out 2020.
2020.
Yeah,
and it's weird because it hits all the beats of the original. It's pretty much a remake.
Yeah.
Until the very end, but they actually do, from what I understand, kind of go more of the friendship route.
Yeah,
Where there's more like camaraderie between the girls. There's more of like a tidy resolution, and then there's a plot twist. But it kind of, I don't know. I feel like you might like it more than I would like it, just because it does come back around.
Yeah.
In a way that sounds pretty well done.
Okay, because like obviously the Craft Legacy being like a legacy sequel like 20 years after the first doesn't have like a lot of like good faith in like just its quality, and plus I'm just really leery of a lot of shows these days when like obviously I want shows with like queer stuff and like girl stuff, but also like and it not feel like so fake and just like this is just for like like corporate and like for brownie points. And I know like even the most cynically corporately made stuff for a certain demographic can still be important and fun, and that's well and good for the people who like it. But like for people like us who are like older and consumed a lot of media, we can tell when someone's just like someone's making this for like the buck and for like the pats on the back.
Well, and sometimes like this is sort of a struggle I have, being trans, is like you look at like a typical like the quote trans experience or whatever, and it may not or not even like necessarily experience, but like sort of like various media representations, and it'd be like I see the importance of this, but this doesn't necessarily reflect my reality for whatever reason.
And I do know that's a thing that we as queer people can struggle with sometimes, like if it's not like a one-to-one mirror of our lived experience and therefore it's like hateful and wrong, but like there has to be like some concessions because like
and also too, life is just a lot messier than just like tidy narrative arcs too,
right?
So I feel like there's a place in the world for fun stuff where that have like have a neat resolution without being like saccharine, but also like they kind of show like, hey, people are really messy and sometimes things don't end well. And there's room enough for both of that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
For the last part of the show, just like, what are just some general things that you like just really loved about like certain scenes, certain like aesthetics, looks, and sort of like kind of like this is the potpourri version, like just favorite general portions of the movie.
Even though it's the corniest part of the movie, I love the stupid "We are the weirdos, Mister" line. Like, that is one of my favorite things, just because you see it coming from a mile away and it's still like, yeah, we said that. I love it. I also love how insane Nancy looks when she says it. I just love pretty much any Nancy scene. My favorite line in the entire movie, though, is Rochelle's, and I told her, honey, you're white. Like... That is by far one of the... I'm definitely that black friend where it's like, if I can make a white person joke, I'm going to do it. You're going to enjoy it. Whether you like it or not, you're going to come around. So, got to keep you all on your toes.
Because they're talking about Nancy being like white trash.
Yeah, her whole thing is, she's like, why isn't her spell working? And she's like, I think she just doesn't want to be white trash anymore. And I told her, honey, get over it. You're white.
That's a great bit.
It's amazing. She honestly, and this is such a weird comparison, for some reason she reminds me of like Gabrielle Union's character in 10 Things I Hate About You, but with brain cells.
Okay.
There's like that sass in the same way that makes me really happy.
And I feel like this is like a genuine sass that comes from the actress.
Yeah.
Not just like, this is my sassy black woman character.
Exactly. It's charming as opposed to like, again, pandering.
Yeah.
Like, we definitely didn't write, like, a finger wave and a hand snap in there. Like, this is just kind of... It's a delivery. It's very wry. It's very self-aware. And, I don't know, just that line alone made Rochelle my favorite.
I mean, I feel like there's a lot of just, like, natural, like, emanation of character from, like, these actresses. Like,
yeah.
I feel like until like they have that turn, there's like some genuine camaraderie. Like I love when they go out into the field, they have like their secret little like ritual.
Yeah.
And the bit where they're running away from the snake homeless man, it's just like, hey, let's stop out in the grass and like sit on these old car tires and like drink like hooch.
Yeah, that's high school. Sounds about right.
I mean, there's a part of me. It's like, damn, I wish I was like, I had like an alternate reality where like I was of a certain age and just got to do like hood rat shit in the 90s.
I mean, I got pretty close. Like I was on the cusp because I was in high school from 2004. So let's be real. The 90s, especially in the middle of nowhere in Alabama, were still alive and well.
Not that far behind. Just like basically like the whole like free range like kid teenager. That's like it's a very romantic notion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in retrospect, we definitely had very few restrictions.
Yeah.
We probably should have had more restrictions, but yeah, we were not too far off from that kind of late 90s upbringing. So we had good times.
Joe, any like standout moments for you from the movie?
Oh, for me, like usually I'm not a big fan of like the late 90s, early 2000s feel or just like the look of the movies, but like I don't know, for like lately I've been kind of feeling nostalgic for that, and this really hit that nail for me. But like any like specific scenes, because I'm a dramatic bitch, I love like when they're on the beach doing the ritual and Nancy has the fucking dagger, because of course she has a fucking dagger, and then she starts walking on water and shit, and it's just like, I don't know, it's like really epic. And something I mentioned to Ash while we were watching it was, I've been to some like local like pagan stuff. I'm not a spiritual person, but like have a lot of friends, or used to have friends who were very much into that. And that scene in particular, I was like, oh, I recognize that. Like, and I think the biggest thing I like about this movie was there was so much of it. It was like, oh, this rings true in a lot of way, in a way that a lot of movies, especially for teenagers, don't. Because like that was sort of the problem I've always had with a lot of quote like the typical teen movies, is it feels very corporate, saccharine, all the adjectives that we've been spewing over the course of it. And this feels like in some level true, like someone's truth, and it's like, yes,
I do know there was like a magic advisor they had on set to like make sure that everything like looked the part and like they're like doing it correctly, because like I think until like a certain point, like it was like a very true to life depiction of like Wiccan and magic rituals. Of course, if you're going to be completely faithful to what magic and rituals are, it's not going to be that interesting of a movie. So you have to zhuzh it up for the story. But like they were like very respectful and like very like conscious of like how they did it, to make it as authentic as possible.
I know they did, like, as far as the god they did choose to summon, they had to make up Minot because they were very nervous about accidentally calling something, because they did try to stick as close to actual practice as they could, that they're like, maybe let's not pick an actual deity, let's make something entirely fictional up, so at least when we get to the end of this ritual we don't do anything creepy or weird.
Yeah, just to be in the safe side. I do know that there was like some sort of like, depending on how you look at it, it's like either like some backlash or like some very spooky coincidences, depending on how you believe that such thing. Like there's like right after the ritual, there's like a big like kind of like surge of weather that kind of like washed away the set, and then there's like a transformer or something that exploded like nearby. So like there's like whoa, okay, maybe like we got a little too close for comfort there, depending on who you talk to. So that part's cool. And like I don't know, there's just just easy to say, just the vibes, man. Just like I really enjoyed it. Like it's just, to me, it's just a lot. That's just like I just kind of want to just like soak it in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, like the biggest flaw of the movie, I feel like, is just there's a lot of missed potential. And like if this had come out, say now, like this would be a miniseries on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
And part of me does kind of wish there was, like, we got to stew in it a little more.
It's not that long of a movie, and I think honestly it's one of the few times I can say like I wish it had a longer runtime.
Yeah.
Even like 15-20 minutes just to kind of flesh things out just a little bit more would have done
Exactly.
wonders.
I did have a bit that we discussed this off air before the show. Each of the gals, they have like their elemental representative. I thought like it'd be a good bit to talk about like what elemental we thought the three of us had. I think we decided that Ash would be fire.
Yeah.
Yes.
Joe, we decided you'd be earth,
Mm-hmm.
and I would be water.
Yeah.
So
Now we just need a fourth for air or aether.
Yeah.
well, we do have a guest that's been wanting to come on that we'll make them our honorary air. Or airs are rotating, the rotating fourth chair.
That works.
Oh, that's true.
So yeah, if you want to join the Grim Circle, give us a call. Tweet us, like us, leave a comment wherever comments are found. Hey, let us know. We'll be happy to talk to more spooky movie lovers out there. All right, so I think just the winding down, this has been a great discussion. Like, even though we may not hit the movie as closely, but I feel like this is a jumping off point for some really good conversation, though. Any last thoughts before we head out into the night?
My last thought is I've heard that there might be The Craft 3.
Oh,
and,
shit.
if that comes out, it's supposed to be like 2023.
Wow, really soon.
Yeah, if true.
If true.
And if true, we're gonna have to make a pilgrimage, which means we're gonna have to watch the last one, y'all. Like, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to do it.
I'm so weary of that.
Oh, it's probably gonna suck, but we have to go see 3 in theaters.
That's
That
true.
is true.
I mean, hey, like it until we watched Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent for Cajun Greatness. Like, we always watched our movies in the house. It's like to be able to like take the show on the road, so to speak, to the movie theater and then come back and report live. That's a nice, fun experience. Like, maybe if not for a potential Craft 3 or whatever, like spooky movies on the horizon, they feel like, hey, we got to talk about this. Now, I don't believe we have that third movie picked just yet, but we have some potential picks for that third one. So stay tuned, keep an eye out, and we have another Gothic classic for you to enjoy. Whether that's with a capital C or with quotations.
Many air quotes. All the air quotes.
Ad infinitum, like the classics. All right. Well, I would say thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for listening. Wherever podcasts are found, you can find us. We're on the Apple Podcast. We're on Spotify. We're on SoundCloud, Google Podcasts. AYCH Extra, that is our home base for this brand new spinoff. Wherever you can, please give us 5 stars. Please give us a like. Please subscribe to us. It really helps us out. This is a new wing on the AYCH Podcast Network, and we would really appreciate it if you really come out here, give us some love, and just help build up this portion of the wing. We can so we can make even more content for y'all, because trust us, we have a lot to say, and we would like if y'all got to hear it. So it really mean a lot to us if you're able to do that. And you can follow me, Patrick, on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. John lost his name.
Okay, it's Ash. You can find me on Twitter at BlurredGirlBlue and Facebook and Instagram at Glam and Ghoulish, where I sell spooky jewelry.
And my name is Joe. You can follow me on Twitter at JONIIBOY24 and John Owens on 12 on Letterboxd.
All right, thanks so much. You have a good night, and we'll be talking to you very soon.